Okay, good morning. Today we're actually going to talk about angles. So yesterday we talked about segments. Today we're going to talk about angles. Angle measure today. It's not scary, I promise. It's not scary. Angles today. Some of this I think you'll already know too. So, all right. To start talking about angles, first we have to talk about a ray. So a ray is part of a line consisting of one endpoint, and then the other side goes on and on and on forever. So one endpoint, and then it goes on forever on the other side. This side's non-existent. Endpoint goes on forever and ever. If I were to name this ray, you always start with the endpoint. So this would be ray YX, not XY. YX, because you start with the endpoint.
Why couldn't you name it like Jeffries?
So you always start with the endpoint when naming a ray. So an angle is just made up of two rays. Okay? So I've got this ray right here. Always start with the endpoint, which we'll call a vertex. Ray XY and ray XZ make up that angle. Okay? So the common endpoint is called a vertex. So an angle is just made up of two sides. Now this part's really, really important. Naming an angle, okay? So I've got this angle right here with the rays, ray BT and ray BQ, right? So I've got this angle. There are several ways to name this particular angle. I could name it angle 1. Do you see the 1 in the middle? That's an easy way. I could name it angle B. I could name it angle QBT. Or I could name it TBQ. The important thing is B has to be in the middle. Yes, Harrison?
Can you name it Bobby?
No.
Oh.
So, angle 1, angle B, angle TBQ or QBT. Well, you might be like, why would I name it with 3 letters if I could just name it angle B? Well, let me show you why. Sometimes angles are connected to other angles. So this one right here, I could not just name angle B because I wouldn't know which one I'm talking about. Like if I was talking about this angle, I would have to say ABC or CBA. If I was talking about this angle, CBD or DBC. B has to be in the middle. Harrison, you need to pay attention. If I was talking about the big angle, ABD or DBA. So if an angle is connected to another angle, you can't just name it by the vertex letter. Are you guys clear on that? If it's all by itself, it's okay. Now, if there was a 1 and a 2 in there, I could say angle 1, angle 2. All right. Let's move on. Okay, so you're going to have some problems like this. You're going to be given a picture, and you have to name the vertex or the sides, or maybe another name for the angle. So let's look at this. Let's find angle 2. Angle 2 is right here. So that would be this angle. What would the vertex be? V. Does everybody see that? V would be the vertex. Okay, now let's find angle 5. So angle 5 is right here. When we name the sides, you name them like rays. So you have to start with the end point or the vertex. So how could I name this side? TS, not ST. Does everybody see that? So start with vertex. So TS would be that ray. And then what about this side? TW.
So you start with the vertex.
So you have to start with the vertex when naming the sides. Okay, what is another name for angle 4? STU, do you guys see that? Or UTS. Could I just name it angle T? No, because it's connected to other angles. That's why. So if it's connected to other angles, I wouldn't know which angle I'm talking about. So you cannot name it just angle T. It'd have to be either angle STU or angle UTS, and either one is correct. And when you're typing it in the computer, you can't put the little angle sign. You just put the 3 capital letters. Okay, what is another name for angle TWV? So another thing too, when you're looking at these angles, always follow the letters in order. The middle letter has to be the vertex every time. So TWV. So TWV. What's another name for that angle? VWT. That's another name. VWT. Or angle 1.
Could it also be angle W?
Could it be angle W? What do you guys think?
Because there's also like.
It cannot because it's connected to other angles. You can only name it by a vertex if the angle's just all alone, all by itself. So like if this was X, Y, Z, I could name that angle Y because it's just all alone, all by itself. But if there's any other lines connected at all, you cannot. Okay, name a point on the interior. Interior would be inside of angle, STV. Could you find a point on the inside of that angle?
Yeah.
W. Okay, are there any questions on naming angles? Make sure the vertex is always in the middle. Because, like, I see mistakes every year. Like, if I'm talking about this angle, T has to be the middle letter. UTS or STU. But sometimes kids might say UST. But that would not be that angle because UST would go from U to S to T. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Moving on. Angle measures. So sometimes you see this little M next to the angle. That just means it's the degree measure of the angle. So don't let it confuse you. That just means the measure of angle A is 80 degrees. So that little m, don't get confused by it. It just means that's the measure of the angle. So hopefully these things you already know, but if you don't, you need to learn them. An acute angle is less than 90 degrees. Did you guys remember that?
Mm-hmm.
A right angle is exactly 90 degrees, and you'll a lot of times see that little box there. An obtuse angle is more than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. And then a straight angle is exactly 180 degrees. You guys good with that?
Yeah.
Would this angle right here be acute, obtuse, right, or straight? It'd be obtuse. Good. What about this angle?
Right.
A right angle. Okay. All right. So you're going to have some problems like this. You're going to have to first classify each angle as acute, obtuse, right, or straight. And then you'll have some where you have to find the angle measure. So I'll show you that too. So first let's look at angle PMN. What kind of angle is that?
Right angle.
A right angle. So when you're locating the angle, remember, follow the letters in order. So let's look at QML.
Acute.
Acute, good.
Very, very cute.
It's so cute. What about NMQ?
Obtuse.
Obtuse. What about angle LMN?
Straight.
Straight. And what's the degrees of a straight angle? 180. You're going to see that all throughout geometry. Okay, lots of 180 degrees. Okay, what if angle PMO is 40 degrees? So let's find PMO, and I know that is 40 degrees. What is the measure of OMN?
50.
What would that be?
50.
50, because 50 and 40 make 90. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. What if angle LMO is 150 degrees? Now what's angle OMN?
30.
30, because 150 plus 30 is 180. Okay. So you'll have some problems that you have to do like that too. All right. Yesterday we learned about marking segments. So if two segments were congruent to each other, do you remember how they were marked with those slashy marks?
Yeah.
If angles are congruent, they are marked with, they look like little humps. So I call them humps. So this angle right here is congruent to that angle right there because they're marked with a hump. So the little humps. Now, if you have extra angles, like this angle, and they are congruent to each other, but they're not congruent to those two, we mark them with two humps.
Okay.
If there was a third angle, we'd mark it with three humps. So just like the congruent segments, we mark those with slashes. With angles, we mark with humps. So that means those angles are congruent to each other. Last but not least, we're going to talk about the word bisect. Bisect sounds kind of like dissect, doesn't it? If you dissect something, you cut it open. So when you bisect it, you're going to cut it directly in half. So that's what I remember when I think of bisect. So this PN bisects angle MPR. That means it cuts it in half. It goes right through the middle. So this, if I look at this problem right here, it says find the value of x if MPN is 9x plus 3 and NPR is 13x minus 9. Well, since this bisects, since it cuts it in half, those two angles have to equal each other. So that's what you're going to have to do on today's assignment. You'll put them equal to each other. 9x plus 3 equals 13x minus 9. How do I solve that? What would you do?
Same as what we did yesterday.
Same as what we did yesterday. So we want to get x's on one side and numbers on the other. What would you do?
You would subtract negative, or you could do -9. So subtract -9x to go to the other
Yeah,
side.
so I would want to minus the 9x from the 13x so I wouldn't have negative. So minus 9x minus 9x.
4x.
So 3 equals 4x minus 9. And then what would I do?
Plus 9.
Plus 9. So 12 equals 4x. And then divide by 4. So x would equal,
3,
that's your answer.
11, 2.
So you will have to do that today. All right. Is your assignment unlocked or do I need to unlock it?
I think you need to unlock it.
Okay. So here's a nice little pickup line. You must be my backyard because I really dig you. All right, let me unlock your assignment and we will look at those.
I think so.
Wait, I want to see the rest of that.
I want to see how things add up in the world. Equality.
All right, hit refresh. It should be unlocked. Okay, so yeah, I've got a little plus sign. I want to see how things add up in the world. I want to encourage equality. I just want to make a difference. Okay, so starting with question 1, you're going to look for names to name the angle. So this is what's another way to name angle 1? Could you just name it angle B?
No.
No, because it's connected to other angles. So what would be another way to name that angle? Do you know which one? CBA, right? CBA. Good. So these you're going to be looking at trying to name the angles. Number 3, you have 3 different ways to name the angles. Put capital letters in there when you name it. Use caps. Did everybody hear that? Capitals. Capitals. And you're just looking at the shaded. You'll have to identify angles as obtuse, acute, straight, or right. And then you'll have to find angle measures. So like on number 7 right here, this right here is a right angle. So that would be 90 degrees. So if you know this angle's 39 degrees, would you be able to find this angle? Just do 90 minus 39. Okay. All right. If you need help with those, let me know. Number 8, you're naming the vertex, which is just the point, one letter. So like this says the vertex of angle 4. What would that vertex be?
T.
T. So you just put the capital letter. Just the vertex. And then I think the next one is another name for the angle. So then you're going to do the 3 letters or, yeah, whatever.
What about the WTS? Would you name the number?
Let's look at it. WTS. Yeah, what other angle would that be? 5. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
But if you
But
do
then these
STW.
do the 3 letters, yeah.
Could
So
you do-
like angle 3. Angle 3 is right here. How could I name that with 3 letters? How could I name angle 3 with 3 letters?
WTV.
WTV, perfect. Or VTW.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
That's, I thought the previous was a STW. 5.
And then you've got the algebra at the end. You will be putting them equal to each other because it's an angle bisector. So equal to each other.
Thank you for
Equal,
only giving
equal.
us 10 questions.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, I'm already,
Okay.
Yes, only
That
10
is it,
questions.
yeah.
I've already done one.
Have a good day. Let me know if you have any
Yeah.
questions.
All the members of